from the Team Crushing It. Woohoo!
Welcome to the Team Crushing It podcast. I'm super excited that you're here on today's episode. Remember, I am a Jenna Carr certified high performance coach. This is your place where we teach you how to be able to crush those obstacles that are in front of your goals, how to be able to crush those timelines, and how to be able to crush life. It's all about your life and all about your business. I'm excited because this is an extended part of another episode here. I was able to pull together all the gold bullion I had and be able to lay it out on a table and to be able to keep the remarkable Pat Doherty here for another episode with us here. I mean, I don't know how I was able to do it. I mean, look, I think he had a thing at O's place and everything like that. He was like, we got a thing and we got to do all that. It's hard, but we're able to do it. And I'm excited to be able to have the man, the myth, the legend, Pat Doherty here with me today. We're going to talk about your business on today. Pat, how you doing?
I'm always good. I just think it's hilarious because I'm the one that usually writes notes down when you start talking because you're going to puke out some 9-pound pearl of wisdom that if I don't catch it before it runs off the table, I lose it. And it's so transformational. But thank you so much for calling me the legend from the legend
that's
himself.
The man. That's it.
Of course, I look like Tyrion Lannister next to, Wookiee because if
that's it. I can't be Wookiee. You can make me somebody else. I can't be Wookiee. That's what I'm saying. I know he was like 8 feet tall, but still.
Well, compared to me, that's right. What you look like.
That's it.
It's time. I'm 5'7". I'm average. Then you have the very above average Jenna Carr.
That's
at 6'6".
I'm 6'6" today because I'm still shrinking. So I was 6'7" at one point in time in my life, but I am now 6'6". I don't have any cartilage in my knees. So.
I'd be on stilts to get to 6'6" or 6'7".
That's it. Well, man, I love getting a chance to hang with you and talk. We have been together on live events and been together in all the different things that we've done, and so I just love being able to have that vibe with you and being able to talk about business. But what we're doing with this podcast is really, it's all about how do we help to be able to create more experts, and how do we be able to figure out how do we crush these things in our life and get things done, as far as that's what we're doing in the podcast as a whole. So I'm excited about getting a chance to shoot this with you, honestly. And so just tell me, what's been going on with you? What is it that you're creating right now? Because you're just like this creative force. What is it you're creating right now?
I appreciate that. Actually, it's so funny because as you're talking and we're going through these different podcasts that you're creating here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and is that you're really doing you're doing your dream, and you're bringing the value into the marketplace by bringing other experts onto your platform. I love to do that. It's something that I've seen successful people do over and over again, is that it's not necessarily about being the smartest person in the room. It is it's about creating an energy with people where there's a halo effect. And so, I've loved speaking on your platforms, bringing you to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, having a 1 or 2 day event that was really amazing with you and other speakers and great people coming together. Been in 2 books with you, I think.
3. Yeah, 2. Yeah,
two books.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I came out with Strength-Based Leadership last year, or Strength-Based Marketing last year. Strength-Based Leadership is probably the next one, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
And but yeah, it's just creating a system now that so much is digital. So I've created a tool to help businesses, professional B2B consultants attract their ideal client through a webinar system that is really about 1/10 of the cost and 10 times more effective than the old ways of building your connections through email and build your list and to give it all away and, all these other things that we've been learning. But I've seen something that's far more effective in getting the exact right people to raise their hand and come to an event. And I'm doing that as well as building the mastermind groups where I have kind of a formula, and it's, you only have 8, maybe 9 people in a mastermind group. And then there's a system that I'll walk people through where at each mastermind meeting, you actually ask for basic questions to really help a person break through. Because it's always as is, what is going on in business, what should be, what's in the way, and what would it mean if we could help you get those out of the way, and then work on those. And I've seen businesses go from struggling, but profitable, but struggling, to where they were working less than they ever have been, earning 4 or 5 times what they did before, because they systematized some things, they shifted. I've seen others go from literally creating a software internal for their own use to selling that software outside to others as well in the whole industry. So a lot of different things.
Wow.
Fun.
So when we come back, I want to talk about a little bit more about why is list building important? And why is it important to nurture a list and to be able to understand what to do with that? Because there's so many of us that are in business that it's kind of like a secret. It's a secret that we're in business, and it really becomes a really expensive hobby. It's what it ultimately becomes with that when you're not telling people about what you do. So I can't wait for us to get back and do more with this. We're going to be back with more of the Team Crushing It podcast with the legendary Pat Doherty in one moment.
It's a jungle out there in the business world. It's hard to stand out from all the other businesses that are doing things that are similar. But one thing we know, people buy from experts. It's time to show your expertise in your business by creating a book or a course that really shows your methodology and how it is you do things. Hit the link and let's create that today.
Welcome back to the Team Crushing It podcast. I'm your host, Jenna Carr, certified high performance coach. Just once again, super excited, super grateful to be able to be around great people. And so we are here with Pat Doherty talking about what it is that he's building in ways in your business for you to be able to really create and do that circular velocity that goes around with that, where it starts moving faster and faster and faster to be able to use. So I know I heard a guy use that at one point in time before. I heard a guy sometimes say that before. That's what it was.
As you always say.
Right. And now as I always say, this circular velocity.
We heard it from you.
Yeah. That's an inside joke there with me and Pat. But no. So let's talk about connections. I referred to it before the break as really list building, but you are absolutely right. It's about connections, about how many people you are truly connected with. So let's talk about that.
Well, remember the days when we used to go to networking events. Mm-hmm. And you probably met that person that ran around the room, handed their card out to every person there, and thought, what a waste of time. Mm-hmm. I mean, networking, whether it's face-to-face or virtually, is pretty much one person at a time. And so it's about your connections in a deep way that builds value. Anyone can build with enough effort and enough money and enough ads or whatever, can build 100,000 list of people. But then you're just spam. I do a lot of work on LinkedIn, and anybody can, there are lots of forums out there, but that's one that is designed for what? Who are my ideal clients? B2B business consultants and coaches selling high value services. Oh, okay. Well, then they probably hang out on LinkedIn. oh, okay. And there are lots of search parameters within LinkedIn. And I can reach out and find those people and say, hey, we look like we're in a similar area, hang out with similar people. Could we meet? Could we connect? And just using something as simple as, you look like a pro, and I like to hang out with pros, bright people. I know I think I have like 4,600 people that I'm connected to on LinkedIn, which that's relatively good. But even within that, I have to separate out a group to invite to something, to reach out every single week. And you can sort within LinkedIn. You can search. You can do it geographically. And it's about taking that action. You can build up all these things, but if you never use them, they're just like cards that we used to stack up. And some of us had shoe boxes full. And, I ran like 6 networking groups at one time, at one point, and I realized that's really stupid. It's like a waste of time. It's like building a big list and not utilizing it. Once you begin to nurture, and that takes time, but so did networking. And effective networking wasn't like that. And effective networking got to, what I did is I found the right groups to go to, and then my goal was to meet 3 people, maybe 4, but 3 would be great, in the hour or hour and a half that I was there. If I did 1, fine, but 3 would be amazing. But that's like deep conversation about, what are you doing? What are you trying to achieve? And where are you going? And awesome. Who do you need to know? And well, who have I made the conversation about?
Yeah. Yeah. So to really kind of synthesize that even more, like, what you have to know is what the value of a customer is to you as well, and what the value of that connection is, because connections turn into customers. So what the value of that connection is, and then also really kind of have a system of how do you spread from those connections to more customers for them to be able to, because your best advertising you have is someone else talking about you for it, right? So, I mean, like, what's a way that you look at that, that you do that?
Well, I think what we're doing right now, I mean, when I interview someone on my show, just like you're doing here, the way to get the most value from an interview, I mean, if you get on a podcast, is that you take it, you transcribe it, then you begin to take the stuff that your guest, if I'm his guest, then I'm going to watch Ojinga post this, and then I'm going to share it, and I'm going to do things with it. Why? Because if I'm going to take the time to create something, you've got to sow it and re-sow it and re-sow it and re-sow it to get the maximum benefit of it. It's not just a repeat of it's understanding that you've been given the value of a book at the unconscious level. When we're published authors, when we walk into a client meeting and we've got a book or 2 or 3, like we have, okay, that's validation. But when people see you on a screen and it looks like an interview, a TV show, a radio show, or whatever, there's a subconscious programming, and I'm using that word real strategically, from the last 50 years of TV, that activates something in our subconscious, says, this guy or this gal must be the obvious expert. So why wouldn't you use the fire out of it? Put it as a signature on your email, put it on your website, put it in your social media, drop it on your social media or your LinkedIn or whatever it is, it's like monthly. Why? Because the audience is always changing.
And we'll be back with more of that in just one moment.
It's a jungle out there in the business world. It's hard to stand out from all the other businesses that are doing things that are similar. But one thing we know, people buy from experts. It's time to show your expertise in your business by creating a book or a course that really shows your methodology and how it is you do things. Hit the link and let's create that today.
And welcome back to the Team Crushing It podcast. I am your host, Jenna Carr, certified high performance coach. I am I'm blown away by the value that is being dropped here. So if you haven't started taking notes, if you're not going back and listening to this later on, you absolutely need to, because it is such great value into what the thoughts are. You know, the thing is that, and I say this all the time, your friends can give you $5,000 ideas. $5,000 ideas make $5,000, okay? But great coaches and masterminds can give you $1 million strategies. And so that's the thing that's so important, is about being able to figure out how we create those strategies and how we make those things do it. So I'm with the legend Pat Dewar here with him, and we're talking about it. He's a mastermind maker. And so, first of all, what is a mastermind? People don't even understand what that really is.
You know, it's funny because the term comes out of Think and Grow Rich, and it comes out of an activity and a byproduct of an activity is what I'm saying. 4 guys used to get together. Maybe you recognize these names: Harvey Firestone, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Andrew Carnegie.
A bunch of no names. I don't know any of those.
I know. They're all a bunch of dead dudes.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the time, tire guy, car guy, electric guy, and steel guy, richest people in the world at the time. Well, they used to get together a couple times a year for a day or two. And I wish I could find out which one said it. I've never been able to locate this, but I heard the quote and I loved it, and I thought it made sense. One of them said, you know, independently, we're all pretty bright guys. But when we get together, it seems there's nothing we can't accomplish. And what happens is that when you get bright people that are creating a level of success, my mastermind groups I've had where they were $1 million a year in revenue is what was required from the business. And so I had a dentist and a chiropractor and a IT guy and, different industries. Lawn care was one of them. That was kind of funny. And tree guy. But they had a successful business. But when they got together, they would ask, we'd ask a series of questions. I'd usually facilitate it saying, okay, if it was Ojinga, I'd go, Ojinga, how is your business going right now, as is? He would tell me. Well, how should it be going? In other words, what's going on? What's not hitting the mark? Well, he'd tell me what should be going on. And then I would ask, well, what's in the way? It's the barriers. What's in the way of what should be going on? Well, what would it mean, payoff? What would it mean if we could help you get through those barriers that are in the way of what should be? And he would talk about the payoff, the value of it. Oh, okay. And then it was a kind of set in front of the group as what can we do to help Ojinga get through those barriers? And then you'd have people just add ideas or ask questions or dig deeper or whatever. And the questions were so valuable. Sometimes the best answers come from the best questions. And so that's the thing that I always encourage somebody to realize is that you want to hang with people that are creating at a level that you want or above, that are willing to mentor and coach each other. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. And I mean, the thing is that, it's cliche, iron sharpens iron, the different things there. But all those cliches, even though those things have been said a lot of times, they come from a place of a truism where it was. And it's really true that I know that, like, on an even greater level, because, you're a legend, me and you, when we get together, I always feel like I pull something from that,
Well, I could say that too. I mean, but see, that's where I was trying to get to with the mastermind was like this as the ideas are going around. It's like there's this third mind that shows up or ninth mind that shows up where it's like we're all kind of sharing the ideas and they get better and better and better. It's like when you and I get together, we got, what, 2/3 of them. I mean, a master. I just learned from the legend.
2/3 of a mind. That's what I'm saying. That's what we got together between us. Well, I mean, telling you, like literally while you were talking, and if you could see my computer screen, I literally typed something that was like another idea that came into my mind literally while you were talking, while you were just talking about that I was like, okay, these, and it's like, what it is, it's like the synapses, they start going, and it's like, you see the spark, and you see it all going there. I mean, like, being able to have that spark, and that's so amazing for me. And that's the thing. It's why I love to surround myself with people. And I didn't know what it was as a mastermind per se, but I always like to not be the smartest person in the room, like to surround myself with people who have this it's a different energy. There's a different energy. When people are talking about things, there's a different energy that comes from that, right? That's like, you're like, wow, I could do that, or I could do this thing or that. And so it's so important, especially now in the times it is that we live in, because there's a lot of places where people can spend their time and negatively commiserate. But like to be able to put together and be able to think about that positivity is huge from that. And so I want to get more into that. We're going to come back and talk more about that. But it's really, I hope that you're thinking about at home, like what it is that you can do, who it is that you can combine with. How can you create? How can we put those things together? How can we knock those things out in our own life and put that together? So we'll be back with more of the Team Crushing It podcast right here, right now.
It's a jungle out there in the business world. It's hard to stand out from all the other businesses that are doing things that are similar. But one thing we know, people buy from experts. It's time to show your expertise in your business by creating a book or a course that really shows your methodology and how it is you do things. Hit the link and let's create that today.
And welcome back for more of the Team Crushing It podcast. I hope you've been taking notes, because it's just like all kinds of ideas and synapses and things that are going there across there. And so I'm Jenna Carr. I'm a certified high performance coach. I'm here with the legendary Pat Doherty, and we are talking about really like masterminds and what's important. So tell me this, Pat, for someone who is out there who is running a business, how do they connect with you in your mastermind program? And also, how would they, what would be the value or the advantage for them of that?
That's a great question. The easiest way is just email me at Patrick, Patrick, at DOER success, SUCCESS.com. Doer, I always put that in there because I'm a doer, not a hearer. So, and it's the way you pronounce my last name, Doer. Mm-hmm. And so it's DOER success.com. So just email me. I'm interested in talking about the mastermind group. And that just creates a conversation, because I have an application process anyways for that, for the mastermind group. Why? Because I want to get to know you before I introduce you to my best friends. People that are going to change your world and make a huge benefit in creating real breakthrough in ideas. Sometimes you never realize what an idea is worth. Before I heard the Magic 100, never heard of it. And yet that has helped literally create and start whole different parts of my business through the years. Before I went to my first mastermind group, I never really thought much about it. I heard a little bit about it, thought it was a good idea. But then I went and just like that, I started taking notes like crazy of ways that you can expand and move and other tools that you can use and what are some other resource introductions and oh, you need to know so-and-so. And I mean, there's these things that show up so quickly every time you get together, there's another spinoff. There was one meeting that I was at and with one of my mastermind groups, and they were like, "Hey, do you think you could come and speak to a group of internet service providers, just 9 of us, on communication because we're kind of stalled or halted in our communication?" And I said, "Sure." And so I went and I taught a little bit on some communication tool and then facilitated a mastermind, a round table, where I said, what's the dream here? What's the idea? Before we get into what we can't do, let's look at what we can do. And so I went in and said, looked at exactly what they wanted and what they needed, and what they decided to do was create kind of a central customer service center that does billing and customer service. And all of them paid a little bit into there, but they did their own sales and technical advances and growing of their. And my point is, like that, I mean, literally within 6 months, every one of the people that got involved in that cooperative were making 5 times more money take home. And they were working 1/4 because they were putting in like 100 hours a week. They were working, 25, 30 hours, earning more, saving more, having more fun, living their life. And I think all that was stirred out of the mastermind group, and then just following the thread and letting it lead you through that. So, I mean, in your life, Ojinga, have you've been to many mastermind groups. What's one idea that you've seen that came out of that stirred a spinoff?
Oh, I mean, definitely just being in a mastermind group is what allowed me to even think about creating my first online product and creating my first online course. And I mean, ultimately, with that course ended up doing over $1 million in the course with it, because it was like, here's this idea, here's this thing, here's this snap. And the thing that I would suggest and I would say to you when you're doing a mastermind or when you're in business at all is that it's so important to be an implementer, okay? And that's what it really is that we have to implement what it is that we're doing. So what I find from any event or any course is that you really have about a week after that to really start to implement what you're doing, because then you take the practice of the implementation and you put that into play, and then that makes this huge difference because it starts to go back into what we talked about in our other episode, Pat, about the belief, because now we're getting belief by doing, because now I do it. So now I have this dream, and now I'm going to be able to believe by doing, and I'm going to be able to create this and get that done. And so that's huge with that. So yeah, definitely. So it's the implementation. There's been just ideas that have changed my life. And I've also had ideas that would have changed my life that I did not practice and did not move forward with. And that I would turn around and see someone doing something that was similar to that already. And that's the cost that you pay, or the difficulty that goes along with that. So yeah, absolutely.
I love it. I always like to say it's information. You're given information. Mm-hmm. Plus implementation creates transformation.
Yes.
People that take action get results. So if you're interested in taking action, email me or look me up on LinkedIn and connect with me there. Just Patrick, Dougher. Love to talk to you.
Pat, you're an amazing man. I really appreciate what it is that you do and what it is that you do for businesses. But overall, you're just good people. And I love having good people around because it really is something that allows for me to be able to have great ideas and great focus, and that's that great energy that's there. And so I really appreciate you doing this mega episode with us here and what we're doing here with the Team Crushing It podcast. We will see you back in our next episode. Talk with you soon. My name is Jenna Carr, Certified High Performance Coach. Have a great day.